Tax time is in full swing, and if you're anything like me, you find taxes to be very, very confusing. This is why I've spent most of my adult life as a business owner trying to figure out ways to make my taxes be a little bit more manageable and less confusing. And I got to admit, I think I've done a pretty good job on this. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with me and necessarily the details of my professional life, I have 2 companies, one of which owns 30 rental cars. I have a W-2 job, an employee, a rental property, and a couple of contract workers. And so in order to file my taxes and keep things effective and efficient, there is definitely some strategy involved. And so in this video, I'm going to be breaking down some of my best tips, tricks, and strategies to file my taxes effectively and limit my taxable income. And while this video is definitely going to be aimed more towards Turo hosts, there really will be a lot of applicable tips, whether you're a gig worker, a business owner, a Turo host, whatever the case may be. So the first tip that I have is to hire an expert. I talk to a lot of business owners and Turo hosts who tell me, yeah, I'm just going to file my taxes by myself. I've done it in the past and I haven't had any issues. But I can almost guarantee you that you will end up paying more in the long run because the amount that your tax accountant, your tax expert will be able to save you will be a lot more than you will be able to save yourself. So in the long run, between filing yourself or hiring an accountant, you're going to be at a net loss at the end of the day. Or at least I think that is what happens in most cases and you don't even really realize it. I'm a firm believer that if you are a business owner, especially a Turo and car sharing host, unless you are an accountant, you really shouldn't be filing your own taxes. Now, of course, this isn't applicable to everyone, and if you are somebody who has a simple W-2, then filing your taxes on your own is probably the right move. But if you're a business owner, a contract worker, if you have side gigs, if you have a lot of depreciation or a lot of expenses, these are situations where hiring an accountant is definitely going to serve you best. Now, I use Shared Economy Tax, and while they aren't sponsoring this video, they are a channel and community partner. I have an affiliate link for them down in the description below. But this will be my 3rd tax season with Shared Economy Tax, and I absolutely love them. I actually found Shared Economy Tax after struggling to find a good accountant for a number of years, and I actually found them because whenever I first started working with them, they really specialized in Airbnb hosts. And so I figured if they know Airbnb, they probably could learn how to do Turo as well. They really ended up diving headfirst into the world of Turo, and now they actually market their services to car sharing hosts as well. They've absolutely knocked it out of the park every single time they filed my taxes, and I just have loved working with them. Now, the pricing with Shared Economy Tax does vary, and the plan that I use with them is quite expensive. I use their full suite of services, so I have a bookkeeper, I have an accountant with them, and they also file my taxes as well. And I pay $350 a month per LLC for this service. But this is the plan that I chose, and they do offer a variety of different plans depending on your tax needs. If there is one service provider that I recommend more than anyone else, it is absolutely Shared Economy Tax, and this isn't because I'm an affiliate partner with them, because I've actually been recommending Shared Economy Tax to y'all for a couple of years now, and I just became an affiliate with them a couple of months ago. But whether you go with Shared Economy Tax or another accountant group, another accountant, it doesn't really matter. The point is that you hire somebody who can do your taxes effectively, who's truly an expert at what they do. Another tip that I have is to start early. Now, tax season doesn't actually begin in January. It actually starts much earlier than that. There is, of course, the task of keeping your books up and maintaining your books throughout the year, which will definitely play a huge role come proper tax season. But there is also the end of year tax planning as well. For example, I get on a call with my accountant every quarter, and in quarter 1 and quarter 2, we're typically going over the previous year's taxes, while in quarter 3 and quarter 4, we're already beginning to plan for next year's taxes. And we have conversations like, what's the year going to shake out to be, and what does my tax liability look like? For example, in Q3 of this year, my accountant told me that buying a large SUV, if there was a need in the business, would be a worthwhile purchase due to a change in tax law with tax code section 179, as well as a way to limit my taxable income. So by Q4, that's exactly what I did. Around this time of year, I always joke with my husband that tax season for a business owner is actually just a myth. Because whenever it comes to filing your taxes, sure, Q1 is spent actually getting your documents together and preparing to file. But by the time you actually file, it's probably going to be Q2 or Q3 if you're a late filer like me. And by the time you actually file your documents, you're already prepping for next year's. It really is sort of a never-ending cycle, and taxes are always on your mind. Now, of course, large purchases like an SUV are really only applicable in the context of tax preparation if you're somebody who's a high-income earner. But this discussion can also be had for larger purchases that you need in order to keep your business going. For example, do you need new tires? What is your tax situation like, and when should you time that purchase? Do you need to upgrade the car that you have? Are you going to buy a new Turo car? All of these larger purchases, whether it's $500 or $50,000, are going to play a role in your tax liability, and timing for these purchases is incredibly important. But truthfully, one of the biggest tips that I have whenever it comes to preparing to file your taxes and doing so effectively comes down to just simply staying organized. If you take my advice and hire an expert, they do most of the heavy lifting, which is great, but there will still be a number of documents that you need to be able to gather quickly in order to send them over to the accounting team to get your taxes filed. And take it from me, gathering those documents can feel very daunting, and if you're not organized, can be really stressful. In order to do this effectively, here are some of the things that I would keep in mind. Number one is make sure your accountant has the resources they need and make sure they're fully aware of your financial and tax situation. For example, did you buy a house this year? Do you work from home? Do you drive a company car? Do you have purchases that you want to plan to make? These are all things that you should be telling your accountant. Number two is to get documents to them in a timely manner, and staying organized will help you do this. And number three, this kind of goes to a point I made earlier, is make sure that your books are well organized and well maintained throughout the year. If it's January of 2024 and you're trying to figure out what you spent in January of 2023, that process is going to be miserable. And take it from me, I've actually helped somebody do this for another business, and it is a disaster. I don't remember what I spent money on last week, let alone last year. But if you make sure to stay on top of this on a weekly, daily, and monthly basis, it is going to serve you so well come tax time. Now, I am an extremely organized person, and organization is one of my hobbies. So for me, developing a process to effectively file my taxes was actually something that I had fun doing. But in order to stay as organized as possible, I do have a few things that I do. Number one is I use QuickBooks, and I have used them for a long time. I also have a QuickBooks affiliate link down in the description below if you want to give them a try. But you could use Rocket Money, QuickBooks, or even an old-fashioned spreadsheet. The point is that you want to have a reference, you want to have a tracker to be able to see what you're spending your money on and how much money you're spending. And you need to be able to consistently go through and categorize your expenses into different spending categories. HP and I used to do this a couple of times a week. We would actually go line by line in QuickBooks with every single charge that was done with our accounts, and we would say, okay, this is a $20 O'Reilly's charge. What is this for? This $150 Firestone charge, what was this for? An $8.99 car wash charge, what was that for? We would literally go line by line, categorizing each and every expense that we made, and we did this so often that it was never this large task, and there was no guesswork in it because we kept up with it month by month and year by year. Our bookkeeper does this currently, so we no longer do it ourselves, but by doing this consistently, you can make your taxes much easier. Another thing I utilize is email folders. This may sound super simple, but I have folders within my email inbox, and if I get an email about my 2023 taxes, it goes into that folder so I can easily reference it later or address any action items. This way, I'm not digging through thousands of emails to find what my accountant needed. But truthfully, one of the biggest game changers for me has been keeping a to-do list from the very start. I'm a big to-do list person. I keep written to-do lists for my daily, weekly, and monthly tasks, but I also use a digital to-do list in the app Notion as well. And this is where I log my tax progress. I've talked about Notion before. I love Notion. I use it as a hub for my entire life, from personal to business, everything. And at the end of every year, I give my accountant a call and I ask, hey, what do you need from me? What's outstanding? And what should I expect in the next couple of weeks? So then I make sure to immediately document all of those items that I need to be keeping an eye out for in my Notion. And then as I address them, as I send them, as I gather them, I mark it off so that I keep track of everything. I've also found that batch sending everything at once, so basically keeping things on my computer or in a Google Drive and then sending it to my accountant team only once I've gathered everything, is a really helpful way to stay organized as well. This way you don't have to feel as though you're piecemealing things together and you know everything got delivered. And truthfully, the final tip that I have is to learn about accounting and tax code. Now, I'm not saying that you need to become a CPA or accountant or that you even need to be an expert in this field, but I do think that you need to know what questions to ask. To be able to ask the right questions to your accounting team is going to be invaluable to your overall tax situation. Because at the end of the day, even though your accountant is going to be an expert on taxes, they aren't an expert on your business, and they certainly don't know the ins and outs of your business on a day-by-day basis. So to be able to know what to look for, to have a base level knowledge of taxes, and to be able to ask the right questions, that's where you can really utilize your accounting team effectively. I'm constantly emailing my accounting team different questions about how I can strategically make investments and purchases, and this makes sure that I'm staying on track with where I want to go. And at the same time, I'm limiting my tax liability. As I've gotten older, as I've grown my businesses, and as I've made more money, I have come to realize that tax strategy and tax planning is one of the most effective tools that any business owner can use. And having the proper resources to utilize this strategy effectively is going to end up making you so much more successful long term. Now, again, if you guys are interested in checking out my accounting firm firm shared economy tax. Their link is down in the description below. And like always, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it. So make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.